happy Facebook Live time. It's Melissa Kerman here with Melissa's Crafting Treehouse. I am here for my weekly Facebook Live. I'm here every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with announcements and updates from the Treehouse and from Stampin' Up! And always have some fun projects as well. So if you're watching live or on the replay, welcome. Thank you for being here. So happy to have you here. This week's project focus is sneak peeks from the April Simple Sweet Stampers tutorial bundle. I do this once a month, and I'm going to show you 3 projects. The focus this month is the Tropical Oasis product suite. So I'm showing you 3 different projects, and they're completely different. So it's kind of a fun way to look at a set of products when you're doing something completely different on all 3 cards. So it should be fun. And I see people joining. Yay, hello Gail, hi Pam, hi Wendy. So glad to have you here. So before I launch into the project, I have some announcements as always, and I wanted to talk a little bit on sort of a more personal note as well, just about kind of life in general, things that I'm thinking about these days. I don't know about you guys, but some routines have changed. There's a lot going on in the world right now, which is kind of crazy. And for me, actually, to be very honest, not a lot has changed. I work from home, so I'm home all the time. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Kimmy. Hi, Sue. Yay, so glad to see people joining. But what has changed that's big, and of course, I feel so grateful that actually not a lot has changed at the moment, just because of so many people are terribly impacted by what's going on in the world, which is heartbreaking. But I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. So here I am at home. The big things that have changed for me is I'm cooking like a ton. My husband is home working mostly from home, so we're having 3 meals a day here. My daughter is home from college, so lots of cooking. And the other thing, the big thing that's changed is I can't go out to my yoga classes. So you guys know, usually on Thursdays, I'm going out to my yoga class in the morning. And I usually go twice a week, and that's been a big change for me, and probably the worst thing for me, because I'm not really good about keeping to the routine myself. But I know in my head that if I don't do my physical exercise, that I really suffer. So I want to share a success, little success. I'm trying to get into a routine of doing exercise. I don't know if this is true for you guys, if you guys are having some of the same kind of issues, changes in your life, but I managed to do yoga yesterday for 15 minutes and today for about 15 minutes too. So that's yay me. So I hope that you guys are staying active and finding ways to accommodate this big change that's going on in the world, and you're finding ways to remain happy and healthy in all of this madness. So anyway, that's just my little bit of ruminations, personal note that I wanted to share before I launched into everything else. So anyway, I see more people joining. Hi Bonnie, hi Christy. I think I missed somebody in there. Again, I'll always go back and comment and say hello after the live. So let's see, what did I want to talk about today? So announcements. Well, first of all, a little show and tell. So Robin, who is sometimes on this Facebook Live, Robin Lacey, she sent me a lovely card. I wanted to share it. Now, this sort of edge right here is so unique, and I've seen these before. I've never actually made one myself, but I thought it was such a pretty card that I wanted to share. It was actually a lovely little congratulations for reaching my quarterly sales goal. So thank you so much, Robin, for sending it to me. I love when I get handmade cards from people. The other thing I wanted to share is a couple weeks ago, I did a project with the scrappy strip technique and did various variations of it. And I don't know if you have seen a subsequent project that I did. I shared it this past Monday. So I took that technique and I instead of making it the whole front of the card, I actually did some punching, and I created this cute little under my umbrella card. So I did scrappy strips, and then I punched it out, and then I cut off a strip of my piece to put at the bottom. So that was version 1. Now this was on my blog, but in case you guys haven't seen it, I just wanted to share just because it was in that same vein, and I think they're so dang cute. I have been looking for something to do with this stamp set for a while, and so I finally found something that I love, and this was my Color Fusers Blog Hop Color Challenge project. So just a quick little share for fun. All right, so on the announcement front, I had in my newsletter just a little note about the fact that, well, I've mentioned this before. I have technique classes on my website. You guys know I'm crazy about techniques. I love them. Complex ones, lots of texture, you know, I'm just a crazy technique junkie. So I offer technique classes because other people might feel the same way. Now, I've gotten feedback from people that my website is very confusing. They don't know how to sort through all the details of the options. And so I spent a lot of time this past weekend trying to improve it. And I think it's improved. I think it probably still needs some work. But I wanted to test that theory out with all of you guys. So, but first, before I do that, I want to just give you kind of a quick little overview about the options. I eliminated some options to make it a little simpler for the technique classes. So basically there's really two basic options, and they really relate to who you are, what kind of choices you want to make. So one of them is you buy product and you get the class for free. Now my club option is the best way to do that because you're going to get some free product at the end of the club cycle. And that doesn't always, everybody doesn't want to have to buy product in order to get a class. So that is option one. Option two is what I call a la carte options. And in that case, you can buy a class for a fee, and you have the option to either buy it with or without a materials kit. So those are the two basic options. So when you go to my website, there's a tab that says tutorials and classes, and underneath that, one of the options is, oh geez, what is it called? I should know this on the top of my head. Tutorials and classes, it's the technique clubs and classes. It's the second choice. If you go to that, you're gonna get an overview of all of the options. So if you want to sort of start and you're not sure whether you want to buy product or not, that's the place to go. And it's going to give you an overview of what the classes are, what the kits include, all that kind of stuff. Now there's one button underneath that that's classes available now, technique classes available now. And that's more like, I want to know specifically about the faux ceramic technique or specifically about Northern Lights technique, that sort of thing. So those are the two main choices that you can pick. Once you go there, you'll have some other options to drill down and go deeper. If you want to know more about club, there's a link to look at clubs. If you want to look at more of the a la carte options, you can go to a different page that has that information. So I kind of broke it up so it wasn't so much information on one page. And my hope is that it'll be simpler. So that all said, I'm really hoping to have people explore that section of my website and give me your feedback. It's hard to have perspective when you're kind of immersed in something. And so hearing from other people is helpful. Sometimes it's hard to hear the feedback, but it's good, right? Because it helps you grow. So I'm inviting you to go look at those sections of my site. So the tutorials and classes section, technique clubs and classes, or techniques available now, either one of those options. And then to incentivize you to go there, I'm doing a BOGO sale. I announced this in my newsletter yesterday. And basically it's a way to get a free class. Now it mostly relates to people who want either an electronic class where you're not getting a materials kit, or you want to join a club. But the deal basically is if you buy one electronic class, you get the second one for free. Now this special is only going till tonight at 11:59 p.m. So it's just for, it's like a 36-hour sale, if you will. So that I want you to get on there, take a look, see what you think. Hopefully it's not going to be completely overwhelming. And if it is, I'm just going to say, please email me. So my email address is create@melissascraftingtreehouse.com. Is that easy, right? create@melissascraftingtreehouse.com. Send me an email, tell me what you're interested in as an option, and I will help you sort it out. I hate the idea of people being confused on my website or getting overwhelmed, so I'm committed to trying to solve the problem, and also hoping that I can give you something for free and incentivize you to check it out and help me work on it. So the BOGO applies to the electronic classes, and then I'm also doing something for anybody that joins a club. So my club cycle actually started in February. So I did the Northern Lights technique class in February. So what I'm going to do with that is if you join a club now, you're like a month late. I'm going to give you that class for free, and it will come with a materials kit. It does require a product purchase, so you have to look into what the club options are. There's a 3 and 6 month class club for the technique club. But I'm going to let you join a month late, get the class even still. You have one less product purchase because you don't have the commitment of February in a product purchase if you do it before 11:59 tonight. So those are my two deals right now. Get you on that website, checking out my technique classes. So do let me know if you have questions. Okay, so what else? That's my BOGO sale. Now, I do have a technique class that is launching this month. It's my faux ceramic class, and it is a technique that is my very own. I don't think I haven't seen it anywhere else. I came up with the name and the process, and did it some years ago with a little help from my friend Cindy, my little creative partner here. She's anyway, and that did that years ago, and I haven't shared it anywhere publicly. So I'm super excited to be sharing that, and that information is on my website, of course, on the classes available now, technique classes available now page, as I mentioned earlier. So now one other thing. So the deadline to RSVP, to pre-order for that class, is this Sunday, the 12th, and that's because after that deadline happens, then I know how much to cut. So it's really technically a pre-order. The electronic materials for that class aren't available till the end of the month. And that just allows me to know and to prepare and plan for each specific class as it goes live. So I do have one other option on that page. This might actually be the easiest option for signing up for that class, and it's a new thing that I've added. Oh my gosh, I've added another thing. And you get product with it, but you don't have to commit to a club. There's specific product. Is basically what some of the things that you do absolutely need to have for the class if you want to recreate the projects as designed, and that's on the classes available to order now page. That second option on my underneath the if I remember the titles. Underneath the technique, let's see, was blah blah blah, technique clubs and classes, and then classes available now, technique classes available now. So that's what you want to look at if you want to consider one of those options. And in that case, I'm ordering product for you. I'm sending it with you with the materials kits. So that's another added level of detail just to make sure you're confused. Anyway, always a work in progress. So much to learn. Anyway. So those are my announcements. Hopefully I haven't completely overwhelmed you already. And you're excited to go check out my website and see my new and improved way of educating you all about what I offer in the way of technique classes. All right, moving right along. So again, RSVP deadline for faux ceramic is this Sunday, April 12th. Okay, where are we? Okay, so I'm going to go straight to project demonstrations. So. And actually I should tell you this. Okay, here right here, this is the coupon code if you want to cash in on the buy one get one electronic class for free. And if you sign up for a club as of by tonight. So it's what is it? TC technique class BOGO for 2020. Pretty straightforward. So I'll show that again at the end to remind you. Okay, so we're focusing on the timeless, what's it called? The Tropical Oasis product suite. These two products here, so Timeless Tropical and the In the Tropics Dyes, and I am using both of these on the 3 projects today. I'm going to start with a project designed by Sandra Hernandez. She's one of our design team members. And then I'll show you one made by Patty Dolan. And then my project. So I've got a lot to go through. I have done some of my little quick steps to skip through things and add adhesive already and all that good stuff to make it quick. But without further ado, I'm going to face the camera down and get started. Let's turn you around. Okay, there we go. There we go. Alrighty. So this first project, and I will say again, these 3 projects couldn't be more different, and I think it's kind of it's going to be a fun aspect of showing you all of these projects because, I wouldn't even have imagined I could have had this range of possibilities with this stamp set. So I'm going to start with my Highland Heather ink, and again, this is Sandra Hernandez's project. I did change up the layering just a tiny bit to make it my own. So I'm going to start with stamping this first flower in my Highland Heather. And I'm going to be using multiple colors here. So I'm going to clean my stamp in between. I got my scrub off to the side. And next I'm using Lovely Lipstick. This is one of the In Colors, the 2018-20 In Colors. That's going to be retiring as of the beginning of June. And we'll clean this one off. And then last but not least, on the third image I'm going to stamp is Grapefruit Grove. And we're actually going to be using 6 colors here. But these are the first 3. Grapefruit Grove is also one of the new In Colors, I'm sorry, one of the 2018-2020 In Colors that's going away. So I think this project is just so simple and creative and fun. It's, like I said, I wouldn't really see these flowers, the flowers, the set in these colors, but it really works in the end, I think you'll see. So anyway, I've done that. Now I'm going to, I would do, in order to speed things up, more stamping here, but by the power of TV, the magic of TV, I've finished my other 3 images. Now this one is Pineapple Punch, and that one is also retiring. It's one of the 18-20 colors, Granny Apple Green and Bermuda Bay. So I've stamped all 3 of those. All right, and then what I've done is die cut some flowers. So these are the dies we're using, and this lovely little die cuts 3 flowers at once. So that's quite convenient, especially for a project like this. It does 2 of the big ones and 1 of the small ones. And so I'm just going to lay these out, and they're going to go on their same color. You could mix them up, I suppose, if you wanted to. And yeah, so just they're going to match up. I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue to attach them. And again, I've done a couple of little jump starts on this so that I want to do every last little step, because it will take some time if I do all of this. But we'll do a few just to get started. And then, you know, imagine those are attached already. And then I'm going to take the little itty bitty ones and do the same thing, attaching them intermittently to create a nice little fun spray of color. Now there's a lot of glue back there, so when you're using the white glue, you want to make sure that there's not too much, otherwise it's going to make a big mess. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one of my other little ones and I'm going to marry them. I'm going to say, we're kissing. Our little image. So I'm going to steal some glue from one to the other, right? Spread it out a little bit. And then I'm going to put my yellow flower in there. Put my blue one down here. Okay, so you get the idea of where I'm going with this. Now, I would do all the rest, right? Lay them all out. Attach them. Find a place where I want each one of them. So my color arrangement is fun and pretty. Okay, they're coming off because I have glue on my fingers. So you're supposed to pretend that they're on there, but you know, if I pick them up with my fingers, that doesn't work very well, does it? All right. Okay, so I'm laying them out. Now, on the inside of each of these itty bitty flowers, if you can see, there's a little shape on the inside that comes out. I'm going to bring this up to the camera. And each flower has a little tiny itty bitty star that comes out of the center. So we're going to be using those as well. Now this is kind of tricky and time consuming, all these little itty bitty pieces and parts, not to speak of all the die cutting. But the result is really pretty, so hopefully you'll enjoy it if you try it out yourself. So I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool and just pick up one of my little itty bitty stars, and some of you are probably going, no way am I doing that. And then at the end you'll be like, no, this is such a cute design, I have to do it. Okay, so I'm just squeezing the tiniest little bit of glue, and I'm really just going to touch it so that there's just a little bit on there, right? And then place it where I want it. Okay, imagine I'm going to do that with all of these. So I'm going to do one of each color in all 3 sizes. So those are all going to be splayed out all around. Okay, so just doing a little bit of every step so you can see where I'm going with this. Now, once all of my large flowers are attached, I'm going to use my Wink of Stella and color. Make sure that's down each of the flowers. Okay, imagine the rest of it's done. And then I'm going to take some rhinestone jewels, and I'm going to take the other side of my take your pick tool and place those around here and abouts. And now normally I would wait to do all of this until probably do all the large flowers and then all the medium flowers and all the small flowers. And then I decide where my rhinestones go. But just want to give you an idea of where I'm going on this project. All right, so now if some of them were hanging off the edge, and in my original, my first one, so like that one, if it was centered, the Bermuda Bay would be hanging off the edge. I'd assemble everything, and then I would snip off those edges, either with the scissors or on my cutter. I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to show you more of a card that is further along. So this is almost done. So I've attached all of my pieces. I actually have 5 rhinestones in there. Each of my largest flowers have Wink of Stella on them. And now the last thing I'm going to do, and this is an element that Sandra used on hers, and I'm going to do it on this one. So I've die cut 3 of my little aloha images, and I'm going to attach one on top of each other. So I'm using my multi-purpose liquid glue again, and ever so carefully just putting little dabs here and there on it. And I'm really barely squeezing. I just have a little bit coming out the tip so that it has enough to stick. And the multi-purpose liquid glue is very tacky, so you don't need a lot. And you might notice I'm doing it on my silicone craft sheet because that way I'm not going to get glue on my work surface. The other thing I like about the multi-purpose liquid glue is that it doesn't stick immediately, so you can kind of move it around if you need to. So now I've got 2 of them stuck together, and now I'm going to do a third one. And this is just going to make that image really stand up more and look a little more bold. Now, I don't know if any of you guys know out there, but the Stampin' Up! Incentive trip this year is supposed to be in July, and it's to Hawaii. Hello. Oh no. And I have earned that trip. Super excited about that. Now you guys are probably all thinking, yeah, right, you're going to get to go on that trip, right? That's what I'm thinking. It's like, oh no, are they going to have to cancel the trip? Right now, the resort where we're supposed to go, this is in July, is actually closed, which of course is a good thing because that needs to be what's happening out in the world right now. It's people staying away from other people. But I don't know, crossing my fingers that things get better before then, but I'm not holding my breath. All right, so now I've got all 3 of them attached to one another, and I've got a little bit more thickness in there. And then one last time, I'm just going to put more glue on the back side of this third one. So chime in if you've ever been to Hawaii, specifically Maui. That's where we're supposed to go. And I have been to the Big Island twice, once with a girlfriend many moons ago, and once with my family when my older daughter was just 2 years old. We went with friends who also had a 2-year-old. That was a fun trip. Anyway, I was really looking forward to going back to Hawaii, and I've never been to Maui, so I thought that would be fun. All right, so yay! Aloha. Hopefully I'll be saying aloha to all of you in July when I go to Maui. So there's my finished card, and the layout is exactly the same. The colors are the same. I did change the color of the card base, and I added a black layer because I wanted a little bit more contrast. Oh, I see, Deborah, you've been to Hawaii. Yay. So fun. All right, so that's card number 1. I'll set this stuff aside, and we'll get started on the next one. All right. The next one was designed by Patty Dolan, and the interesting thing with the project choices that all the team came up with is a lot of them had the designer paper on them. And as you guys know, I do my product shares when every new catalog launches, and usually what I do is I'll get a product share only if there's leftover. Unless it's a product share that I just absolutely can't stand to not have. So I try to be practical about it all. Well, for this product share, there wasn't any leftover designer paper. So I was just like, okay, well, I guess I don't get it. I'll just survive without it. If I can't survive without it, I'll go get some later. So I never got the designer paper for this Tropical Oasis product suite. So it was a little bit challenging to recreate some of these designs because most of them had designer paper on them. So that said, I had to change this one up a bit. And I had some of the basic same elements, but there were some significant differences because there was supposed to be a panel on the side that was designer paper, very bold and red. Oh, I see lots of people have been to Hawaii. Yay. Getting a quick little glance at the phone. All right, so let's start first with, I have used the embossing folder in the Tropical Oasis suite and dry embossed it with this lovely weave texture. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of sponging on that layer. This piece measures 1 inch by 5.5 because it's going to, or I'm sorry, 5 1/4 because it's going to run all along this piece of Pear Pizzazz. So I'm just adding some soft suede to give it a little bit more contrast and depth. I do love my sponging. I think it adds a lot to projects. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this. It has adhesive on the back side, and I'm going to attach it to my Pear Pizzazz piece. And then I'm going to take this whole element, which has adhesive on the back, and attach it to my garden green card base. And I'm just noticing I can see some of that pear on the edge. I like to attach this strip first because if it happened to be a little bit longer than my piece, I could trim it off. All right, now here comes the fun, right? I get to dress it up. So I've used the dies in the Tropics die, set of dies, and I've die cut the pineapple body and the pineapple top. Now when I first did this afternoon, I was just laughing at myself because I was about to put it together and I realized I had done these opposite, right? I had done the body in green and the tops in yellow. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I wasn't thinking, that's the whole point. All right, so I'm going to take my crushed curry and do a little bit of sponging on my pineapple. Catch some of those edges. And then I'm going to do the same with my pineapple top. Okay, And then I'm going to grab my bone folder and I'm going to do a little bit of shaping. So what I want is it to look like it's raised up, you know, like it looks a little bit more natural. So kind of bending it with my bone folder. And then what I want is for the little doohickey points, technical term here, to stick up a little bit so that it has some dimension to it. So I'm going to do that on a few of these. And then I'm going to do the same thing on my pineapple top. So I'm curling the whole thing and then essentially flattening out the base so that the parts that want to stick up are curled forward. So just like that. Pretty straightforward, right? Hi, Sally. So good to see you here. Hi, Jolene. I love it when I look up at the screen and I see new names. Makes me happy. All right, so there is my pineapple base. That's going to go there. Now I'm going to put glue dots on the back side to get it in place, and it's going to be like right there. And then I've gone ahead and die cut an aloha in the real red, and that's going to go down here on the lower right-hand corner. And then I have one additional element to do on this. Now, I actually did it two different ways, so my finished card is going to be different from what I'm going to show you here, but I played around with a few things, so I thought it would be fun to see how they each turned out different. So you can tell me which one you like best. So now what I did on this one is I just stamped in Memento Black on my real red cardstock. I curled up the petals, and I'm going to go ahead and take a dimensional and it's going to attach right in there. So I got some red to go with the red, you know, just kind of make it all tie together. Now I'm also going to use a little bit of Wink of Stella on this. And I'm going to use the tip to sort of mimic the shape of the inside of the flower. Just like that. And I have one more embellishment I wanted to add. Oh, here it is. So now I also did this version here where I stamped it on white, and I colored in with the Blends alcohol markers with the real red. So that was also an option. Because the rest of it didn't have any white in it, it's kind of, I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Now's your turn. You get to chime in, people. Tell me what you think. So do you like the one with the white, or do you like the solid red? I'm going to give you a second to think about it because I'm going to pull out some of my red rhinestones, and I'm going to take a little rhinestone and put it in the center of my flower. Okay, I'm coming to look. What do people think? You guys like the stamped on the white or the stamped on the red? I don't know, it's kind of bright in the red. So when I attach these, I'm going to put glue dots on the back side in, you know, maybe 4 or 5 strategic spots just to hold it down. I still want the elements that are poking up to stay poking up. And I'm not going to attach it on camera, so guess what? You guys have some time to give me your feedback. I see some solid red votes. Let's see. Oh, so far I see all red. Yes. Okay, well, that's where I was headed to, so I love it when people agree with me. It's okay if you don't agree with me, but, you know, it's fun when people agree. Oh, my goodness, I'm losing my voice. All right. Okay, so now I have another opinion question for you. So I was thinking, you know, aloha, it's like, aren't we saying goodbye when you say aloha? I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have another alternative sentiment on here? So I thought, well, maybe I could do thank you in the lower right-hand corner instead of the aloha. I'd have to probably do it in black. So you can chime in and tell me that too. So I'm not going to assemble this now. I'm going to assemble it later. I'm going to show you the second version, the one that's actually completed. And then off camera, I'm going to finish it. And I'll share photos on my website. So here is the one that's finished. And this one, I watercolored that. That was actually a piece of watercolor paper. And I used a combination of Mango Melody and real red. I was trying to get the red in the center to be bright and then sort of fade into the mango, and you know, kind of worked. And then of course I have the Wink of Stella on that as well. And then all the other elements are the same on that. So there are my two versions of the second card. I like them both actually. All right, I'm going to set that aside and move on to project number 3, which is actually my contribution to the tutorial bundle. And this one, we actually have 3 different versions. So I'm excited about sharing this one with you. So notice, of course, you know, right? 1, 2, and we got our 2. So those look really different, right? Really different. Fun to see different things you can do with the same stamp set. Okay, now this third project, where must I begin? Here, we're going to start here. So I have taken, using a bunch of my dies, and in various places. So I'm using the stitched rectangle stitched, the stitch shapes, one of the squares here, and then I've also used some of my regular squares. So what I'm going to start with is my big old hibiscus here. Such a pretty image, very delicate. And I'm going to ink it up with my Mango Melody. Get a good amount of ink on there. And then I'm going to take my real red marker and add a little bit of red to the center. So I am going to attempt to sort of fan out from the center with this marker so that it sort of mimics the shape and really looks like a natural hibiscus flower. When I was playing around with this, I did go online to look up, you know, what do hibiscus flowers actually look like in real life, to give me some ideas of what to play with. And I saw lots of flowers that were, you know, reds and oranges and pinks, and a lot of them had this variation of color from the inside to the outside. So I'm going to do something now called huffing. That sounds really funny, doesn't it? And I want you to hear the noise because I'm basically blowing on it or breathing onto the stamp. I'm going to do it off camera because I have to. Otherwise, you'd have to see my face, my head. And I'm just blowing like that. Basically re-wetting the ink. That probably sounds really funny on camera because I want it to be wet when I stamp it. And it dries out when you use markers and you let it sit there. So hopefully if I re-wetted it, if I huffed on it well enough, it'll give me a nice crisp image. And it did! Yay! I think that's so pretty. What do you guys think? I think so. So much fun, right? Okay, so that's focal piece number 1. And let's move on to number 2. So for number 2, I'm using the palm trees. It's a great image. And what I've done is I've used a couple of my rectangle stitch dies, put them one on top of the other, and I just have them taped together so I could show you and pretend I'd actually dry embossed it by magic. I'm sorry, die cut it by magic. So 1 and 2, right? So I'm going to take off the 1, and then I get this lovely little piece, which I'm not actually going to use for this project. So I've got my frame, and then I've got my inside piece. So we use those 2. They're actually just one size up from one another. I get this to use on something else, and then I've got this inside piece. So I'm going to set my frame aside for the moment, and I'm going to work on my coloring. And for this one, I'm using markers only. So I'm going to start with my soft suede marker, and I'm going to color the trunks of each of the palm trees. Now, generally, you want to start with the lighter color or the color you're more worried about contaminating. So I probably should have started with the green, but, you know, in general, I'm not really worried about it too much. If it was yellow, I would worry, but with green and brown, not so much. So I'm now going to just take my old olive and color the whole thing. in the olden days when I first started doing paper crafts, they called this omitting markers, because you could omit a section of the stamp if you wanted. You wouldn't really want to do that with a palm tree like this, but you could. Just do the tops of the palm trees on something, because you're omitting some portion. But it also, I think, means, you know, doing exactly what I'm doing, which is choosing where you want your color to be. Okay, so that's it for my old olive. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did with the last one, essentially with my Mossy Meadow ink, giving the centers of my palm trees a little bit of a darker color, kind of fanning out towards the outside, similar to how I did with the hibiscus, just to give these palm trees a little bit of variation in their color. And then I'm going to do my huffing like I did a second ago. And I'm going to stamp it, and you'll see the magic. Okay. Oh, it looks like, yeah, there we go. So there you go. There is my focal piece. You can see that the center is a little bit darker with the Mossy Meadow than the outside edges with the old olive. So that's my second focal piece. Okay, moving on to number 3. Now all of these 3 cards come together in the same way, so I'm going to assemble one card at the very end, showing you all 3 projects. Okay, so this last one, I've again die cut a circle. I'm sorry, I know my shapes. A square with the stitch shapes framelit. And I'm going to stamp repeatedly with my Pear Pizzazz and my leaf image. And I am going to stamp off. Let's get my one thing over here before I do that. Okay, now I'm ready. So I'm actually just gonna do some repetitive stamping, basically just creating a background. And I'm not really using any first inking because I want it to be subtle. There we go. Complicated, right? I love the palm tree coloring too. That was actually the first project that I worked on of these 3. And then I decided I needed to play with some of the other images as well. And then, of course, that morphed into 3 different but related projects. So that was very fun. Okay, so moving right along. So now we're going to start with our assembly of this card. So just like with the card that with the palm tree, where I created my frame, right? This last card also has a frame. So for this one, I've cut a piece, and I'm going to die cut the center to create my frame for this one. And I have actually done it already, somewhere in my bag. There we go. These are my other pieces. So there's my frame. And again, using that Aloha. And then I've created a flower in the same way I did with the big hibiscus, using the Mango Melody and the red in the center for this little itty bitty flower. And I'm going to put do I want a dimensional? Yeah, I think I might need a dimensional in the center. And that's going to just go right here on my stamped piece. So this is the one I just stamped, and this is the one I just finished. Just going to put that right on there. And here's how this card comes together. So this has adhesive on it already, so I've dry embossed this again with that Coastal Weave embossing folder. And it's just going to go on my Whisper White card base. And then I have some tips for you on my little post-it note here. Let's see. Oh, okay, let's see. Alrighty, so how this is going to come together is I've got my frame and my backing, and I want this piece to go in behind this piece. And I have dimensionals on the back side. I've cut off the strips on the edges of my dimensionals, so I have a full coverage of that whole frame. I want to make sure it's fully, you know, there's support everywhere. And I have adhesive on the back of this, but what I'm going to do is I'm turning the frame over, and I'm going to put this down on top of it to make sure that I got it centered and it's on those foam pieces. And then I'm going to take my assembled center focal piece and put that right in the center of the frame. So I have that white in behind, and it's solid white instead of being the textured weave, just helping it to frame it a little bit. And then this whole thing is going to get centered right on here. I'm not pressing it down because I need to make sure I got my spacing right for my sentiment. Now, I did the sentiment a couple different ways, so I'm just going to, I have finished cards, so I'll just show you. One option is to do the Aloha on the little bit of ribbon. Now, this ribbon is also part of the Tropical Oasis suite. I like to fan out the edges a little bit. But because Aloha is not necessarily the most versatile sentiment, I decided I would do one with an actual word. So this one says hello, and I think I have another one that says thank you. So I'm going to opt for this one this time, and you'll see the other versions with the Aloha. So I'm going to use glue dots because when you're using a ribbon like this, really not a lot other adhesive's going to stick. So a couple of glue dots in behind that ribbon, and I'm just going to attach it right there in the lower right hand corner. And I think I'm pretty happy with that spacing, so there we go. So that is my finished card, version number whatever. I guess this is really 3. Let me show you the other versions. So this is the one with, of course, with the hibiscus that I showed you first. And this one, of course, is with the palm trees. Now, this one with the palm trees, I just did Old Olive ink, so let's see if you can see the difference there. I thought it would be fun to add the Mossy Meadow to the center to show you guys. And I like the difference with the, it's subtle, but it's definitely there. So that's card number 3. And there you go. I did do one other variation on this one where I die cut these little leaves and put them in behind. And then I used the thank you at the bottom to have that more versatile sentiment. So those are my projects for the night. What do you think? Do you guys like the Aloha, or do you have a preference for the hello, the thank you? Which one do you like the best? I always like to hear your thoughts. So, bring in these other projects. You can see them. This one precariously balanced on there since it's not attached. And then the last one. So what do you think about this variety with this one suite? It's so fun, right? Makes me happy. Let's see what you guys have to say. Looking at your comments. Hi, Kimmy. I don't think I saw you on here earlier. I'm glad you're here. Alrighty. I'm going to turn the camera around. Very nice. Love looking at all your comments. I'm so glad you guys are liking these. So much fun. Okay. Turn the camera to say hello to you or to say goodbye to you, whichever the case may be. So now I can't wait to read your comments. Like, if anybody, you heard me at the beginning talking about, you know, routines and how your routines have changed and what you're doing about it all. Are you guys still getting your exercise? Are you guys cooking like crazy like me? I didn't really get a chance to look at your comments when I was talking about all that stuff, so I'm looking forward to it. So just, you know, last, let's see, little reminders at the end. My faux ceramic class pre-order ends April 12th. By pre-ordering, it's the only way to guarantee that you'll actually get a materials kit. And I will tell you, these materials kits are going to be fabulous. There's a lot of die cutting, and I'm doing it all for you. You see this project here? I had to pass through the Big Shot 6 times. Well, I took advantage of those 6 times, and I added some of the pieces for the for this faux ceramic class, because I already have an estimate of some numbers anyway. So it's going to be a pretty awesome class. So deadline April 12th, of course. And let's see, the BOGO offer deadline is tonight, 11:59 p.m. Again, you can get basically a BOGO on the electronic-only technique classes, and those, you know, apply to anyone that's available, including the faux ceramic pre-order. Just know you won't get that till the end of the month if you do choose that one. And then, of course, if you join club by 11:59 tonight, you'll get basically a class free, and without having to purchase anything for that month. So let's see what else. Anything else? Orders are still coming in a little bit late. Stampin' Up's more on a 5 days to ship kind of schedule, but they're doing it, of course, to protect the staff and keep everybody healthy. So having to try to be patient, waiting a little bit longer for things to come in, but just to remind you all. And you can always ask me about your order. I can always check on the status and see if it's shipped if you don't know, so just let me know. So as a reminder for my little special, there's my little coupon code, and it's backwards, but it's BOGO /2020. Simple, right? So you would just send me an email after you pay for your electronic class or join a club. So I guess that's pretty much it. So just, I'll be back next week again, same time, same channel, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this Thursday, April 16th, with another fun project. And definitely check out my website, things I'm posting on my blog, and comment and let me know what you think of the project today. So, and my blog posts for these projects will go live tomorrow. I'll have project dimensions, supply lists, all that good stuff, so you can recreate things as you want. Actually, I just realized I don't do dimensions for these Simple Sweet Stamper tutorial bundle projects because it's exclusive to the tutorial. But you'll be able to tell anyway. But there'll be a supply list for sure, either way. So thank you so much for joining in tonight, and I know it's been kind of a long one. So thanks for sticking with it. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Happy crafting.